Hello, everybody. Leo here. Let's wait for other people to join, and we will start in minutes.
Hello.
Hi.
Ciao,
Sorry
Rabu.
for disappearing for a while.
No worries.
Oh, we have Steven. Pop told me great things about you.
That's very nice. I hope to live up to the expectation.
Don't you disappoint me, Tirana.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Spencer.
Hello.
A new background every week.
Yep.
Spencer, can you do the IBM boot thing? Please.
I don't have that set up.
Do you all know if we are waiting for someone else to join or if we can start? No. Okay, let's start. So, in 3, 2, 1, I will start recording. In reality, it's already recording, but I will cut the video for later publishing it to YouTube. So in case you don't want to be recorded, please put your video off. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this new episode of Falco Community calls. In the notes, I've put the link of the notes. I'm Leo. I'm gonna lead the call today and present the call. I just ask you a favor. Please add your names in the notes to the who joined the section where Leo Grass already added his name. So basically here I'm sharing my screen. Please add your names. As soon as we complete it, we can start with the today agenda. Also, if someone wants to help me with the taking notes duty, please do me a favor, help me.
Leo, I can take notes.
Thank you, Pop. Okay, so while you had your name here, let's just talk a bit about the highlights of the past 1-2 weeks. Yesterday, me and Lorenzo released, hey Nova, welcome. Chris?
Hey.
Hello. Welcome,
you?
Chris.
Thank you.
Fine, you? How are things going?
Good. It's cold. It feels great.
It feels like mountains.
Yeah, I love it.
Welcome, Chris. So I was saying, the highlights of the past 2 weeks basically are 2, in my opinion. If you have something else in mind, please step up and say it. We released yesterday, me and Lorenzo, Falco 0.26.2, which is a hotfix release that just changed the URL where the Falco pre-built driver are. Now, if you are in the community, you probably followed up a bit of discussions about bin tray rate limiting us and pre-built drivers and things like that. We've moved them definitely to the new download.falco.org, which, by the way, has also a very nice user interface that we have not built. We have stolen from someone else. Here you can go and basically navigate and search for the kernel modules of Falco, the eBPF probes that we pre-built for every.
Can you zoom in, Leah?
Yes, this is always my problem. Can you see it better now?
A little bit.
A little bit bigger, if you can.
Yes, like this?
Yes, perfect.
Well, basically, the page is very, very simple. You land here and you have directories. For now, we just moved the drivers from Bintray to this new S3 bucket. In the future, we also plan to move packages and other things like that. But for now,
Do we want to explain why, Leo? I'm sorry, just so everybody who has been on the call kind of understand. I'm sorry, am I cutting you off? I'm just asking.
So, say whatever you want.
No, I'm just asking, should we kind of explain the reason why we did this? Because we had the rate limiting issue. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're right. The reasoning for those not following our Slack was that basically 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, don't ask me the exact timing, we experienced a real huge spike in the adoption of Falco, which resulted in a huge spike of downloads and bandwidth used from the Falco bin tray. That started rate limiting us, so blocking the new installations of Falco, because the new installations of every installations of Falco looks for pre-built drivers for the specific host kernel. And so basically we were blocked, and we started a process with the Falco Infra working group to move various things. But the first one, the top priority was to move the drivers, because we pre-built a lot of drivers. We pre-built more than 1,500 host kernel combinations for Amazon Linux, Debian, and so on. And so that was our top priority, to move the drivers. Now we have moved them, and we released Falco 0.26.2 that basically makes people download pre-built drivers from here rather than from Bintray. A note, the existing driver on Bintray will not be deleted for now, because we don't want to have some disruption to people using old versions of Falco. For example, if you're using Falco 0.25 or Falco 0.24, in the future, we plan to shut down Bintray once we will move also the packages, and only use this system to provide the Falco artifacts to the community. So this was my point, the release that me and Lorenzo did yesterday. Then another highlight, and I want Lorenzo to talk a bit more in detail about this, is the fact that yesterday, or 2 days ago, finally the ARC64 support for Falco landed in, was merged in. So Lore, will you mind sharing a bit of?
Yeah, that means that Falco now builds for ARC64 and ARMv7. We are still working on getting that into the CI, and also on basically releasing that. So if you want to build a package for ARC64, you can download the project and make package on an ARC64 machine, and you will have the package for it, but we don't have a CI pipeline yet. That's basically that.
You said make package? Are we using like make package from Arch, or do you mean do the create a directory and build and CMake?
Make package in our CMake, not make BKG from Arch. Yes.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. We don't have a NARC package yet. If anyone wants to make it.
But those are coming to CI/CD, so we're going to have an Arch64 and an ARMv7 driver release that you can download.
We will. We have an issue with the plan to do the CI first, so that we have the build steps done. Once we have those, we can hook the CI steps to the upload to Bintray. But before doing that, we need to, do a proposal or figure out if we want to move out of Bintray and move everything to downloadfalco.org. So because we need to first organize the things and then do the thing. I don't know if it makes sense. But yes, in the end goal is to have this release so that if you are on ARC64, you should be able to just download Falco and run it like you do on x86-64.
And this is for the kernel module driver?
This is for both, for the kernel modules and for the packages.
Okay. This is really exciting.
Thanks, Laura, and thanks, Chris, for questions. So moving on, let's start with today's agenda. I don't know if
Leo, you
Can
mind
I just
if,
say a last
can
thing
I-
before we go ahead?
Yeah.
Sure.
Falco is designed to work on as a single thing, right? So we need to figure out a better way to make sure that we can utilize Arch 64 machines that are usually, machines with a very high number of cores.
Many cores, yes.
Because on a typical x86 Intel machine, you have very few cores that are very powerful. So it works very well. On an Arch 64 machine, you maybe have like 128 cores that are less powerful, but many cores. So we need to, gather ideas, do proposals, discuss ways to make Falco better on multi-core machines, if that makes sense.
Can we use Packet to test these high number of cores on that architecture?
Oh yes, I use the Packet, and that's why I'm saying this, because I noticed that the performance are not optimal on Packet. That's why I'm doing this discussion.
And when you're saying they are not optimal, you've seen high CPU, you've seen high drops.
I've seen high CPU and high drops.
Story of our life.
Well,
When the number of I did some benchmarks, but don't take the word as like real benchmarks, like with graphs and results. I did benchmarks where I just do the thing with my little hands and look at the results. And I noticed that when you go on more than 64 cores, Falco it's not very good at keeping up. The number of cores.
To be fair, Linux is also not very good at keeping up in that situation.
Yes, that's also true. And it's not just the number of cores; it's also the megahertz that each course have.
Yeah, what is the bus speed on all of these?
It's a good question. I don't know.
So, Bob,
yeah, Leo, I was just saying, Leo, because I know before, like Nestor was, I think he has a hard stop. I was hoping we can push him earlier in the agenda.
Sure.
I don't want to speak for you, Nestor. I just know you know, we talked about it earlier, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I have another meeting in 15 minutes. So.
By the way, awesome stash. Everyone, just give a round of applause for Nestor's stash here. Awesome. Movember, look, that's a very noble thing you're doing, man. Awesome.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Tell us this cool thing about Visual Studio Code plugins, Nestor, please.
Yeah, I'm going to let me to share, and I'm going to do just a quick live demo. Okay, share my screen.
Yeah.
This is the screen. Okay, I think you can see my screen, right?
I can.
Okay, we grow this plugin basically because last time my team is writing a lot of rules, and sometimes they feel they are a bit scared when we start to write new rules. So we just created a simple Visual Studio Code plugin with the following features. I mean, we have snippets to create just rules without being able to remember every single field that you will need. This is the rule. You can just hitting the tab. You can choose the values, or even you can choose different priority levels. And one funny thing about this is that, for example, depending of the priority you are using, it appears in one color or another color. So, for example, the info is just a green, or the warning, they become darker while there are a bit more dangerous situations. So the other thing I want to showcase you is the ability to, when you are writing rules, you need to remember several fields. I mean, for example, if you need to access to using the JSON pointer to the payload of the event, then we have some IntelliSense, the IntelliSense autocompletion, which allows you to write the rules without remember all the fields. And it's pretty much the same about, for example, the Kubernetes fields, with some documentation about what does it mean every field and so on. This is just a simple YAML syntax highlight, and I think this is an overview about the plugin. The plugin will release. We did an open source release in this repository. I'm going to put
Nestor, I think you stopped the screen sharing. You don't know
yeah,
okay.
I think it's done. Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to create to add a link. If you want to contribute, or if you have some issue or something like that, please feel free to fill an issue, a pull request, or even I think the plan. I think that plugin should be under the Falco Security organization.
Okay.
We just created under Streets Lab because for a convenient, for doing the bootstrapping and so on. But perhaps it would be better fitted in the Falco Security organization.
First of all, great job. I loved especially the auto completion, because I think it's very useful for user that wants to learn and write new rules for Falco. Thanks so much for this effort. Nestor?
We will need to add the syscalls, all the syscalls. My team is more used to write Kubernetes rules or the JSON event-based one, but we can add, for example, it's a good first issue, add support for the syscall.
The syscall. Yeah. Maybe reading the tables in the drivers of the syscall supported, or not. Yeah, sure. For the second thing, moving it to the Falco Security organization, we would love, there's a process that we usually employ for moving projects to the Falco Security organization. I think that you already know it. You can find it in the evolution repository. And if you open an issue there, we will come there, we will discuss together the status of the project, if it can be already incubated in the Falco Security organization, or if we need something else before to be incubated. But what remains is, in my opinion, this is really needed by the community, and it's lovely that you and your team did it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hey, Nestor, could you paste the link in the chat for everybody? I want to go download it right away.
Yeah.
Probably Pop already filled it. sysdiglab/VS Code-Falco.
Okay. Yeah. I'm also going to put in the Slack channel. Yeah, I got it. Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Next point on the agenda. Thanks again, Nestor. Next point on the agenda. I don't know if people from the Falco Infra group is here. I don't see anybody. Nope. But well, I can do a summary. John, especially John and Max Joe, are working really hard on getting the new Pro deployed and done in the correct way, with Terraform, with DynamoDB to share the state between different contributors. Basically, they are revamping completely the Falco infrastructure. We already have almost empty new Pro instance that not tied to the Falco Security organization yet. The old one is still working, and it's here, pro.falco.org. As soon this task gets completed, hopefully tomorrow, since we have the Falco Infra working group call, and we are going to migrate the existing Pro to the new infrastructure. This will become the dashboard to basically have help on the plugins that are on the repositories. You can filter for repositories here. For example, these are the repositories that are on Falco, things like that. You will have the status of the pull requests the one that got blocked for some reason, the one that are in pipeline to get merged in, and things like that. We will also have the ability this time, since this is on AWS, to run CI jobs through Pro. So to enable them with / commands and things like that. There's an example of a periodic job, which is a kind of job that Pro supports. That basically is a bunch of containers, a pod with the containers that can do some testing, can run something. For example, we can use this to build in a more efficient way all the drivers that we pre-built. So I'm sad they are not here, because I would have liked to say thanks to them in front of all of you, but that's awesome job. And also the pro.falco.org link is now officially listed in the official Pro page README in the Kubernetes GitHub organization. If you go here, Kubernetes test infra Pro, you can see a section Pro in the wild, where together with Kubernetes, OpenShift, Istio, Knative, Prometheus, there's also Falco. Finally, even if it's like 2 years that we use Pro, we finally get something that can be linked here. So moving on, easy. So Thomas, will you please update us on the Falco Sidekick new release?
Hi everybody, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, sure, thanks. So 10 days or 2 weeks ago, I don't remember, I released 2 new major releases for Falco Sidekick, 2.15 and 2.16. They provide us new features. The main one is a new output, Amazon SNS. It means only one piece is missing for replacing totally the Kubernetes engine, Kubernetes response engine, which uses custom programs, custom applications for managing Google PubSub, Amazon SNS, and I guess Amazon NATS. Okay. So all these outputs will be directly inside Falco Sidekick soon. I added a Prometheus exporter to get metrics about Sidekick itself, but also about events from Falco. And you can custom your headers for the webhook output. It means if you have a backend which needs authorization token, for example, you can now set it. It's a small steps to Splunk, for example. I guess as soon I will be able to integrate Splunk as an exporter, as an output. And Leo Grasso, thanks to him, has integrated Circle CI for the unit tests to get more professional source code. So thanks to him.
Thanks to you, Thomas.
Thanks to you too, to you both. So this sounds amazing, especially the Splunk thing. Congratulations, Thomas. As always, you always do a great job with Falco Sidekick. Next point, Falco Community social process discussion. Okay, let me do a summary. We had some chat in the past days between Pop, that I don't know if you already know, has become a Falco Community maintainer. So Pop is a new maintainer, a new owner of the Falco security / community repository. And while discussing about various things, we come up with the idea that probably Falco community maintainers, the same way that we have done for the Falco infrastructure maintainers, will need access to the socials of Falco to help the community of Falco spread and prosper and be known all around the socials and the world. So we don't have this process. And so I would like to give the word to Pop to explain what he has in mind.
Yeah, so I mean, the idea is look, Falco is a project that is, has many feathers, right? Everybody should be able to socially come out and say, okay, there's a new release, or hey, Thomas came out with something in Sidekick and wants to be able to like sit, it shouldn't be a certain like central person doing that level of social dissemination. And so the idea here is just to be able to like put a process together, have everybody bless it, and say, okay, if I want to, say, hey, Nestor came out with this awesome plugin. I want people to know about it. Or eventually, Tarana comes out with an integration for blah 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 and wants to like to have the ability for us to blog. There should be a process for us to do it. That's not just central person. It should be the community doing that. And so decentralizing that is kind of what I'm suggesting here.
I like
decentralizing. Thoughts or concerns, anyone?
I have no concerns. I already said to you that I agree with this. I mean, this is the same approach that we had with the Falco Infra working group, and that led to really cool improvements to the Falco infrastructure, also relieving the core maintainers of Falco from other burdens like having to set up a new infrastructure, having to maintain it, having to improve it day by day. I mean, it's like doing 4 or 5 jobs all together. We need help, and we need help also on the social thing. And aside from that, it's very important to distribute, in my opinion, the roles in the community. So we also need the people helping with the community, because that's my idea.
Again, it's more of a statement. Like I said, it's for everyone. We're gonna put this process together, and just make sure people are involved in this and stuff like that. Just that's pretty much the deal on that one.
So what would you guys see as next steps on this? I mean, I agree with the concept. Would you put together a working group with regular calls? How would this work?
I think this is I'm sorry. My thought here is this is a one and done process. I don't think this needs a working group, because I think we need to have other, the other place to do it. This is more just to very simply just create this, aspect of the community that we have that's specific more to social. And Leo, I don't know if you agree or disagree, but.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is very similar to the way that we set up governance for contributing to Falco. I mean, what I see here in the future is that we come up maybe with a meeting, not with a series of meetings, to document that we commit in an auditable and transparent way to the Falco security/community repository, a document that basically defines who can be a Falco community maintainer, and what he will be responsible, or what he can do once he become a Falco community maintainer, with duties that can contain, for example, as we did for the Falco infrastructure working maintainers, having access to the Twitter account of Falco, for example, Falco Security, Falco_org, and tweet the new features, follow the community, tweet things about the community from that account. The same way that Falco Infra maintainers have access to the AWS that CNCF provided for Falco. Same exact concept in my mind. I don't know what Lorenzo and Grasso thinks about this, so I would like them to speak their mind.
I totally agree.
Okay, Lore, you're probably eating something or drinking a coffee. Okay.
He's having a baby emergency. More important than coffee.
Probably a baby emergency. Then there's this point, community roundtable. Pop is always soon.
Yeah, and this is more, hey, like going round table, like, Dan, I see you joined, and some other folks, and just like, hey, Steven, this is more for everyone to kind of have a say, what's going on in your worlds, anything like now that you have pretty much the community together, anything you're running into Falco, let's just make this community more, the announcements, but also make sure that folks are also able to chime in on stuff that they're running into. So I don't know if maybe Dan, you want to start, or Toronto, or whomever.
In all honesty, I'm just here to lurk more than anything. There's a couple of issues that I keep my eye on, which are real, I don't want to say blocking issues. They just they absolutely need fixing before any real value for us is going to get realized out of it. And so I've just come to, show my face and just get a feel. There's only so much that you can get from GitHub issues. And I think you're absolutely right in terms of driving a community. There's a lot of community channels that are available. Some work better for others. Like more Slack channels is not conducive to my time in terms of checking all of those. It might be for other people. Those channels, like a wide variety of those is probably the best in terms of getting everybody up to speed and up to date, I should say. But yeah, I've been meaning to reach some of these. I've been meaning to make more often. There's a couple of issues. I think last week was where it was really going to touch on issues that were important to myself directly, but yeah, mostly here.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing with this, is more of a forum for somebody to, to come in, and also that's like you said, the best part of a community is to ensure that like folks have their, that are part of this, not only hearing about what the awesome stuff that's going on, but also being able to be vocal about things that's going on in the world. So if we can do that you can't join every meeting, but if there's something that's coming up that you need to have addressed and we're having a meeting on that day, obviously bring it up. If anybody else wants to go.
Or I can introduce myself at least. Hi everyone, I'm Steven Trana. I've been Falco adjacent for a while through conference presentations, and Pop's enthusiasm has inspired me to get a little bit more involved. So I'm going to join these meetings as often as I can. I'm pretty involved in the Jenkins community, and my wheelhouse is mostly DevSecOps, but I do a lot of Kubernetes work as part of my day job. So I'll join and listen for a while until I start spouting off ideas that I don't have time to implement.
We would love to have you as many times as you can. So please continue to join after this first time. And
I've been following Tarana his whole career. Now he's starting to follow me. So it's like that is what it is. So
it's nice to put a face to the name. I think I follow a lot of you on Twitter, and it's nice to finally meet you all.
Cool, really cool. So about the community roundtable, Pop, I mean, you're a Falco community maintainer. I write code, so that's up to you.
Yeah, no worries. I'll take that on a weekly. No big deal.
Yeah.
I also want to introduce somebody else that joined Adrian. I think he's having internet issues, but Adrian's from Rancher. Adrian joined as well.
Adrian, nice to meet you, Adrian.
Hey. Yeah, I'm here and I am having internet issues. I live in South America, and I don't know they're having all kinds of peering issues the last couple of weeks, but I'm here trying to listen through all the Zoom jitter talk and stuff. Hello.
Hello, welcome. And also there's Stefan. Stefan, are you here? Would you like to present yourself? Stefan. I see an account, Stefan, but I don't know if is here in reality or not, but well, let's move on and let's go to the next point, which is Leo Grasso, asynchronous outputs and slow outputs detection. Please enlighten us.
Yes, so I just want to give you an update since now my pull request is ready for review. Just a bit of history. I started to implement asynchronous outputs about 1 month ago. I started this because when debugging with an user, we discovered that an output blocked for a while can cause a lot of drop. And for this reason, I started to investigate about that. We temporarily the user used the Falco Sidekick to mitigate the issue, because Falco Sidekick is offloading the output using goroutines. But of course, it was important to solve this also on Falco. And before this pull request, the first thing I did was just to refactor the outputs implementation from Lua to C++. And now with this pull request, basically we have all the output processing in another thread, and there is a queue between the event processing and the output processing. This maybe can also help with the RMM issue you mentioned before, because in this way we are offloading the job in more threads. And just two things. First thing that I noticed is that there is a performance improvement. It's not so much, but with some simple benchmark that I did with the event generator, I can see from 10 to 20% improvement in the Falco drop threshold. I mean, the threshold when Falco starts to drop because there are too many events ingested. And another thing that I implemented with this PR is the slow output detection. I prepared a very short demo. I don't know if you want to see it. It's about a couple of minutes.
Would you like to share your screen, or I can?
No. You can go in your screen. It's just a schema.
Okay, let's do this way.
Okay.
It's very, very small.
Zoom a bit.
Let me do this way.
Okay, perfect. Basically, I did the slow output detection because even output are now offloaded in another thread. User can still configure Falco in a way that the output blocks Falco. For example, in this demo, I'm just trying to using the sleep command to simulate a very slow output. I put a sleep of 5 seconds. And then I will try first with the last Falco version that doesn't include these new features. And basically the first thing you can see is that the output is blocked.
Yep.
Notification, it's lagged by 5 seconds almost. And at some point, Falco start to drops, even it shouldn't drop with this load that with this load that it's not so high. It should drop in a couple of seconds.
Suspense.
Oh.
Oh, I didn't remember. It was too long.
You waited for 4 hours.
Yeah. No. Okay. Yeah. Falco dropped. And now I did the same test with the new feature.
Okay.
That's the output detection.
Okay, so the outputs go in a queue, and so you don't drop because they get offloaded to a queue.
First you don't drop, but the most important thing is that you get immediately a log error, a message in the log that is saying you, hey, this output is blocked and everything is blocked because that. Try to do something, basically. Because in this kind of situation, Falco cannot recover the problem, cannot fix the problem. It's the user that has to fix that problem.
Yeah, look, program output timeout.
Program output timeout. And of course, Falco will not drop, at some point it will drop, but it will not drop like before, just because there is IQ. So it's like a buffer. And basically that's it. I think this feature is very important for a reason, because when this happens, the user should fix the output configuration or another kind of problem, like for example input output issue that can occur.
Can I ask a question?
Tell me.
What's the strategy for handling the occupancy of the queue? I mean, the queue has a dimension, a max dimension. Is a ring buffer? Is not a ring buffer? Do you empty it every thought seconds, or the queue can grow indefinitely?
At the moment, the queue can grow indefinitely because it's not the goal of this pull request to fix that. We have a similar problem also in the gRPC queue.
Yeah, I know.
It's a bit different, but because in that case, it's depend on the gRPC consumer, not on the producer. Even though at the moment, the queue cannot grow so much because there is the notification throttling mechanism that reduce a lot the rate of the message that will arrive in the queue.
Do you mean the token bucket at the entering?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So for example, at the moment, I think with the default configuration, we can have 1000 notification for a while, and then one notification for seconds until the token bucket resets.
With the default settings of the token bucket?
With the default, yeah, exactly, with the default setting.
Gotcha.
So now there are two considerations about this. One thing is the queue cannot grow so much because there is limit. And also when this happens, it's a problem that Falco cannot recover anyway. So in my opinion, the most important thing is we have to notify the user about that, because the user has to do something.
What do you mean? What you're meaning basically is if the user doesn't look at the logs of Falco and doesn't notice that there's an issue, we can't really do more than that. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, what I'm saying is just, for example, if you don't have, if the Falco cannot write to a file because there is no space left on the disk, Falco cannot recover this. The only thing we can do is just say to the user, hey, the output is blocked because there is no more space. Please fix that. Same thing if, for example, you are using the HTTP output and the web server is very, very, very slow.
Very, very slow and stays.
Exactly. In that case, of course, the queue acts like a buffer and will mitigate the thing, but at some point, Falco cannot do anything. And the only thing that it can do is, hey, user, try to solve this performance issue, because I cannot deliver a notification alert for this reason. Of course, as a protection mechanism, we can also add an hard stop if the queue grows to up, but it should be a very high limit, for example. But in my opinion, this is another task that we can add later, at least not in this PR because it's very big. And
gotcha.
The last thing as bonus point with this pull request, I also enabled gRPC clients to subscribe to drop alerts. This because I noticed that the data structure for the drops is very, very similar to the standard events. So we can reuse the same proto.
So basically you're using the same proto and also the same gRPC service, the one that we did
exactly.
Not like in the issue, the feature issue that basically we were thinking at that time of creating another service rather than output subscribe, drop subscribe. So it's the same service, same protocol.
Exactly. I remember that one stopper for that was just because we actually, you and Lorenzo, if I remember correctly, were not sure about of using the same service or another service. But if you open again the PR, there is an example. In the description of the pull request, please.
Okay, not the code.
Yeah, There is a gRPC output example, exactly, it's there. Down the example, the code example, okay. This, thank you.
This one, the output?
Yeah, basically this is a drop event. And you can see that it's exactly the same as any other events, with the only difference, we need another source identifier, of course, that I added, and I call it internal. We can choose another name, or we can choose something different about that. But the data contained in this kind of event, it's the same, because it has a time, a priority, a rule name, because you can add different kind of notification, the output, of course, and also the output fields.
Yeah, my concern about this exactly part of the PR is that in my mind I would have done it as a separate gRPC service for various reasons. I know that the data structure is the same, but it's also true that we have an handle message for drop and another handle for output. So it depends on which side we look at the code that we have.
Yeah.
I would have done just another service, but because I will not have mixed up output alerts and drops. I know that that's true that we have a way to distinguish them at the end of the connection. So in the client, we have ways to distinguish if it's a drop or if it's a real alert that we should care. Imagine in a dashboard or something in some other place, but that means that to distinguish, we have, as you said, to use a different source. That source represents, at least in the data structure that we designed at that time, the input mechanism, not what's happening, if it's dropping or not. Not the mode that Falco is in that moment. So conceptually, at the moment, I still would have gone with the other service, gRPC service fix. But I mean, for the rest.
I want just to add two reasons to respond to this concern that I can partially agree. The first one is that all other outputs already have this kind of notification mixed with other notification.
That's not a good reason, in my opinion.
No, of course. But there is another thing, that alerts are not only the only kind of notification we can have in the internal source. Because at the moment we have only this, but currently the implementation supports any kind of internal notification. That can be everything. And in my opinion, just last thing, in my opinion, it would be, but it's just an opinion, of course. It would be better to have a filter mechanism on the gRPC API instead of have multiple endpoints.
Yeah,
that's it. It's just an idea.
Yeah, if I don't remember wrong, we put in the proto an initial mechanism for filtering by tag or by other things that we then didn't develop further. Anyways, we will discuss these technical details.
Of course.
Later, Leo. Thanks. Great job.
Thank you.
I will not bore people anymore with other technical details because
sorry about that.
I see
Leo next time gets a 5-minute limit. That's it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I see people dying, like people that want to kill themselves.
No, just for the less technical people in the audience, the reason why this is so important is that we identified that one of the big reasons for drops in Falco was the fact that Falco, being single-threaded, was being slowed down by essentially just emitting the outputs and was dropping events. So all of these events that like system calls that Falco needs to capture, Falco was not being able to catch up to stay, follow those without dropping them because it was slowed down at the output. So this kind of decoupling, from one point of view, is a technical detail, but from the other point of view, we believe that it will solve at least part of what has been by far been identified as the biggest pain for from the users when using.
One of the biggest pain, for sure.
So what was the rationale to engineer all of that rather than just fix the threading?
essentially this fixes the threading, because what this does is it decouples the input, so the reading the input and producing essentially the insights and the output. This is essentially the lowest hanging fruit by far that you can do with threading in Falco. Another thing that you can do potentially is split input processing into multiple threads, but that is not trivial at all for a number of reasons that mostly involve the fact that Falco needs to reconstruct the state of events that are coming essentially from multiple processes running on multiple processors. So essentially splitting this processing into multiple threads immediately requires you to start worrying about how you construct the state and how you manage the state. This is probably a topic that requires much more than the time that we have in this call, but essentially the Falco engine is based on libraries, SINS and SCAP that mirror the operating system state, because you receive a system call like open with a file descriptor. You need to resolve the file descriptor to a file name or to a connection or something else. And in order to do that, there's sort of a centralized state that is hard to decouple into multiple states if you want to do it multi-threading, because essentially you have multiple processors and you have processes that could jump from a processor to another processor by essentially a schedule by the scheduler, and it's very hard to maintain essentially multiple states when you have a situation like that. So for the moment, the summary is the input is a single thread, and the output was also part of the thread. At a minimum, we decoupled the input and the output, and that's a very important step that should actually solve many situations. And then, of course, in the future, we have the option to work on more complex stuff at the input level.
Makes sense.
So we have 5 to 7 minutes left. Radu, your turn.
Radu, you got 3 of those 7.
Oh my God. So I'm gonna share my screen if possible. So I really want to show you what's the status for the Kilt project and Falco in user space. So as of right now, it is feature complete for CloudFormation. The only thing that is missing, of course, is documentation. So let's go. Let's go over it and see what's up with it. So what we have here is in the repo is there are a couple of things. First of all, we have the Kilt library. So this is a Go library that allows you to parse the Kilt definitions and apply those Kilt definitions based on I don't know, the inputs. So let's say you have a target info that you extract that you can specify as a JSON or whatever. And this is going to be transformed according to the rules in the Kilt definition. And then there is another component that is done, which is the runtimes for the CloudFormation. This allows you to install a macro on your AWS account for processing Kilt definitions and applying Kilt definitions to CloudFormation templates. Then we have the definitions for Falco in this case, that this is a definition that injects 2 containers and overrides the entry point. So this is where we are, and these are just sources, right? So what we have also is, as you've seen here, a process to build the runtimes with the GitHub Actions. So now we are building the installer for the CloudFormation runtime of Kilt, and we have a process that is a rolling release of the images that are required in Falco Falco Kilt definition. So if we take a look here in the Kilt definition, we're going to see that it requires Falco security, Falco user space latest, and Falco security Kilt utilities latest. And these are already being auto-built on each commit here.
Through GitHub Actions, right? Do I remember correctly?
Yes, everything is built through GitHub Actions. We can see those actions in action here.
Cool.
So we have the CFN runtime. This is an action that does the unit tests for the CloudFormation runtime. We have unit tests for the library, and we have the release, which builds the installer, and the rolling release of Docker images. That's
really cool.
That's pretty much the status right now. So we have the images that are rolling release and the installer for runtimes that are built on tags. And what happens next is I need to update that proposal. The PR is still open. I was on a fire today and I couldn't finish it. But pretty much it's to update with what is the status and submit for extra review. And the second thing, which is going to happen in the next weeks, is write more documentation, like user-facing documentation, because
yes, please.
The documentation of what we have available from the point of view here is pretty basilar, and it summarizes what is available, but there is no tutorial on how to get started with this. This is what is missing.
Thanks for your update. You went just in time, perfect timing. Yes, I agree. Documentation and moving the...
Leo, you taking notes? That's how you do it right there. Radu was very efficient with his time. No, I'm just kidding, brother. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Also moving the proposal that was open initially on the Falco repository to this Kilt repository, and maybe refactoring it a bit. The wording, we already talked about this, but just for context for people here, Falco can work also in a user space mode, which means that in the future, really soon, it will be able to work on things like Fargate or other Kubernetes managed things, but not only on that. And we basically planned it to work this way, to not be tied to a specific thing, AWS Fargate or another, but to be a bit more abstract. And the initial proposal was a bit more, bit less abstract, and that's what just Radu needs to update, if I don't remember wrong, right, Radu? You're muted, but we have no more time left. So thanks for your awesome job. The call was simply amazing. A lot of cool people here, cool ideas. We'll see you next week. Last question. Who wants to lead the next call next week? Pop? You don't want, don't you? Oh God. Oh God. Who wants to lead the next call? I'll ask it again. Okay. I'll ask in Slack. Let's do this way. Leo, I can do it. I'll do it. Thanks, Chris. Thanks very much.
Sure.
Ciao, everybody. Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Ciao. Ciao.
Ciao. Cheers, guys. That was helpful.
Cheers.